development is stumped. They have behavioral issues because they're hungry. We treat adults when they're hungry and they're irritated and they're acting wild. Right? What do we do with children? We medicate them. Feed them. Maybe that would make a difference. I have seniors in my district, and it breaks my heart. I have seniors in my district. Rent keeps going up. They live on a fixed income. And every time I do a town hall at a senior housing, the number one thing they say to me is, how do I account for 13%, 14% increase in my rent when that is not the adjusted cost of living for my Social Security check? How do I account for the deductibles? How do I account for my food costs rising? How do I account for the cost of my medication? I am 65, I'm 70, I'm 75. I have to go back to waitressing. I have to pick up a shift. I have to go to the food pantry. I have to beg. I'm ashamed to ask my kids for a handout. And we are spending trillions and trillions of dollars on wars that are not ours, right? Creating more disabled veterans by the minute. We are droning countries. We have no business in droning every single day. So we, I think, as citizens, have to take that question into the ballot box. That's how things change. I represent a district that is very anti-war. People call me anti-American when I talk like this. I think I'm actually pro-American in saying this. People have, spent my first primary, nearly $20 million spent against me because I was not willing to vote to send that $3.5 billion to Israel. And my constituents said, thank you for recognizing that that money should be spent to feed our children, to help our veterans, take care of our seniors, build our roads. We appreciate that. And we're going to elect you with 20 points more than your opponent. So the things that we want to do to stand up for you, more members of Congress will put your interests first before the lobbies.
Yes. So I'm worried I'm going to try to save up for a house, and no matter what I do, it feels as if I'm saving most of my checks every week, and the housing rate just keeps going up. And what can we do about that in society, like as property prices?
I think this is a see this somehow statement which involves the federal spending is we know that this is our district. We know that every in the general assembly we get millions of dollars of subsidies. Amazon, we subsidize things for the airport. In Memphis, we subsidize all these corporations and stadiums give money to the people to live with dignity and decency and to be able to have housing. I think it's something we see. One thing we are always talking about the restaurants who will tip salary, which is top wages. We know that every time we have a conversation at the state level, we're told that those corporations are trying to away corporations like McDonald's, where we are actually paying, subsidizing these corporations, and we're paying for them to be on healthcare. We as taxpayers, we're paying when the corporations have the money to do it. And so what we have to put back is this narrative that is really a narrative that says if you're poor, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, but if you're wealthy, we're going to give you a red carpet and pay for you to have new shoes every week. I think we have to talk about what is the reality in Tennessee right now. And the reality in Tennessee is that we are a government that's been hijacked by special interests. If you come on the Hill in the Tennessee State Capitol, much like my sister here, we do not meet with lobbyists. Actually, they don't even come to our floor, the fourth floor. They spend their time on the sixth floor with the speaker, the Republican majority is. Trying to buy legislation. We just passed the largest tax cut in Tennessee history. The largest tax cut in Tennessee history at a time where we're saying that we can't teach, at a time where we cannot move our schools out of flood zones, at a time where we cannot fund, cleaner infrastructure for communities addressing the climate crisis that's happening with increased flooding. We were told we don't have money in the budget for that, but we had money for these corporations. And so I think what it's going to take is going to take a tradition of good trouble to show up and to really let them know that this is not about left versus right, but this is about top versus bottom. And that the majority of the people in the state don't have anything in common with Elon Musk, that if you look around, most of us will have more in common with the neighbors we're told to demonize than we do with these billionaires and corporate interests who hijacked our democracy. And we have to remind people of that. And I want to say, because I know we had a few emails from folks who are who said, that, can we come to the town hall? And we said, of course, because we wanted to make sure that you're here. First of all, say, well, we're not a group that says I told you so. We're for life. Welcome to our group. And I'm not saying I'm going to be portion right now because this airport happening, raising the cost of 25%, cutting contracts that farmers have with USAID to with farmers. We told them to get together the workers who said that they thought that immigrants were taking their jobs, but now recognize that that is a lie, and that is something that's extreme and immoral, and that's the politics of plantation politics, as they call it. Welcome to our movement. Welcome here. To the Daily Wire, who was here, welcome here. You are welcome to publish some truth about what's happening. Together as if working class people, because a rising tide lifts all ships.
I just wanted to add to what Justin said. I'm not a homeowner. I rent, and I think that's where a lot of millennials are. We're on that boat. And I'm an older millennial. I also have kids that are now thinking about, buying a home and starting a family and that kind of thing. And it is really heartbreaking to know that you're not going to be able to make enough. You're not going to be able to save enough. And even if you did, you're not going to have a housing market where you can actually buy a home. And there are a couple of reasons why that's happening. We know that hedge funds have been buying up homes, driving up the prices. We know that Airbnb has a lot of vacant homes that is responsible for a lot of the prices that are jacking up. We know that the tariffs that are currently in place are also going to be responsible, even higher costs for home ownership. And when we think about, what kind of support we should be providing to people who we want, instead of saying, lift yourself up from your bootstraps, we want to actually give people straps, right? If we were serious about that, because many people don't have that, you would want to create subsidies for people to be able to purchase a home and have the support that they need, at least down payment of 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. That can be helpful. But that's not what we're doing. When we think about tax cuts, our current tax cut that we just passed, that Trump signed into law, it is the biggest wealth transfer from the poorest of Americans to the richest of Americans. So if you are making less than $34,000, you will save about $150. If you are making $4,550,000 to $1.1 million, you will save $21,000. Now, if you think about this, who needs more in support? The person making $1,450,000 to $1 million, or the person making less than $34,000? Now, if you are a small owner, a business owner, you've got a small security firm, you have, you're in the development sector, and you have a truck. In order for you to have deductibles, you have to utilize your vehicle full-time. Now, if you buy a private jet worth $10 million, the 37% tax bracket, instead of paying $3.7 million in taxes, which you should, you do not have to pay if you use that private plane for part-time. Now, when we talk about the system being rigged for the wealthy, we are not making this up, right? It is because, we're Americans, right? We all have an aspiration to constantly move through the income brackets.